Namaskar, good evening viewers. It's 9 p.m. and you're watching the news on Sansad TV. I'm Rajiv Kumar Singh. Roundup of all national and international news over the next 30 minutes, beginning with the headlines. NITISH Kumar inducts 31 ministers in his cabinet in Bihar, keeps home portfolio. RJD's Tejasvi Yadav gets health and road construction. BJP holds meeting in Delhi to discuss political developments in the state. Bus carrying 39 Jawans meets with accident in Pahalgam. 7 soldiers lose their lives, many injured. President, Vice President express grief over incident. Defense Minister hands over indigenously developed weapons to the army. Asserts that the new equipment and systems will greatly enhance the capability of the army. Wholesale inflation index falls in July, drops down to 5-month low of 13.93% on the back of lower prices of manufactured products and food items. Nation remembers a former Prime Minister and Bharat Ratna ATAL BIHARI VAJPAYEE on his death anniversary. President, Vice President and Prime Minister pay tributes at Sadaiv Atal Memorial. After the headlines, a quick look at some other important news of the day. Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat underscores need to turn rejuvenation of rivers into a mass movement. Union Minister PIYUSH Goyal says youth should pledge to make India a developed nation during AMRIT KAAL. Bharat Biotech completes phase 3 trials and booster doses of intranasal COVID-19 vaccine. Parsis celebrate New Year NAVAROZ. President, Vice President and the Prime Minister send greetings. UIDAI enrolls over 79 lakh children under Bal Aadhar initiative in first 4 months of a financial year. Missing Indian soldier's body found after 38 years in Siachen. Chandrasekhar Harbola was caught in an avalanche in 1984. Indian Defense Attache now has unescorted access to Pentagon. US Air Force says move highlights trust and cooperation that US shares with India. Dengue cases surge in the world. Bangladesh, Vietnam, Philippines and Brazil grapple with rising deaths. Australia's former Prime Minister Scott Morrison secretly held 5 roles in ministry, says current PM Anthony Albanese calls predecessors' action an unprecedented trashing of democracy. Asia's oldest football tournament, Durand Cup, begins. Tournament is being held in multiple cities for the first time. Now news in detail. Bihar Chief Minister NITISH Kumar expanded his new cabinet today. 31 new ministers took oath, including 16 from the key ally RJD. Chief Minister NITISH Kumar kept Home Department, General Administration, Cabinet Secretariat, Election and any other departments not assigned to others. Deputy Chief Minister Tejasvi Yadav has got health, road construction, urban housing and development and rural works. Tej Pratap Yadav has been allocated Environment, Forests and Climate Change Ministry. Vijay Kumar Chaudhary has got Finance, Commercial Tax and Parliamentary Affairs. The swearing-in took place at Raj Bhavan, where Governor Phagu Chauhan administered oath of office to new ministers. The cabinet now includes 16 members from RJD, 11 members from the JDU, 2 from Congress and 1 from Jitan Ram Manjhi's Hindustani Awam Morcha. 1 independent has also been inducted. A meeting of the BJP's Bihar Core Committee is underway at party headquarters in New Delhi. Senior BJP leaders, including Union Minister Shah, Party President JP Nadda, are present in the meeting. Coming just days after NITISH Kumar switched sides in Bihar, the meeting is likely to focus on the dramatic political developments in the state and the party's future strategy. Reports said the meeting is also likely to consider electing the new chief of Bihar BJP and the role of the party as opposition in the state assembly. In a tragic incident in Jammu and Kashmir, 7 ITBP jawans have been killed when the bus ferrying them fell into a gorge in Pahalgam area. A bus carrying 37 Indo-Tibetan border police personnel and 2 policemen fell into a gorge between Chandanwadi and Pahalgam. They were returning from Amarnath Yatra duty that concluded on 11th of August. 2 ITBP personnel died on the spot, while others succumbed to injuries later. 32 others have sustained injuries, out of which 8 are critical. They have been airlifted to Srinagar for specialized treatment. Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha visited the injured jawans in Srinagar.
पहलगाम से करीब 6 किलोमीटर दूर में एक खाई में गिरी है और अभी तक जो हमारा इंफॉर्मेशन है कि 7 लोगों की मृत्यु हुई है और 8 लोग गंभीर रूप से इंजर्ड हुए.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh handed over a wide range of indigenous military equipment to the Army today. He said that the new systems will enhance the operational preparedness of the defence forces and help them to deal with future challenges. The Army has been given Future Infantry Soldier as a system which will arm the soldiers with AK-203 assault rifles, multi-mode hand grenades along with multi-purpose knives. The other key equipment included surveillance hardware, patrolling boats, a new anti-personnel mine, Nippon infantry protected mobility vehicles, rugged and automatic communication system, upgraded sights system for tanks and advanced thermal images. The Army has also been provided with unmanned aerial systems which will help in keeping an eye on the enemy movements in the forward areas at the LAC. Indian Army showcased the capability of the landing craft assault boat in the Pangong Lake along the LAC with China. The boat can carry 35 combat troops at a time and can reach any area of the lake in a very short time. Rajnath Singh also handed over a 1 megawatt solar power project at the Partapur Army base near Siachen Glacier in Ladakh. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla addressed the 7th convocation ceremony of Rajasthan Central University in Ajmer today. Addressing the students, he said that education builds our character, expands our intellect and makes us self-reliant, and its sole purpose should not be to get a job. Underlining the role of youth in the society, Birla said that today's youth is not job seeker but job giver. He added that the number of startups is increasing rapidly in the world because of youth. He urged the students to make maximum contribution to the development of the country, especially at a time when the world is looking up to India.
आपके जीवन में जो कुछ भी आपने प्राप्त किया है, जो कुछ भी इस शिक्षा से आपने ऊर्जा प्राप्त की है, आंतरिक ऊर्जा प्राप्त की है, उस ऊर्जा का इष्टतम उपयोग आप आपके जीवन में करेंगे और निश्चित रूप से आपकी शिक्षा का लाभ देश को मिले, समाज को मिले.
Non-stop rains in Jammu and Kashmir raised water levels in many rivers flowing through the state. A flood-like situation has arisen in the Uj River in Kathua district. Many houses were washed away and people had to be rescued by helicopter. In Madhya Pradesh, the Narmada, Chambal, Betwa, Tapti, Shipra are flowing above a danger mark. Water levels in many dams in the state are also continuously rising. Gates of many dams have been opened, submerging many low-lying areas. The administration has declared holidays for schools. The Met Department has predicted heavy rain for the next 24 hours. Chief Minister Shiva has conducted surveys of many affected regions. Amid warnings of heavy rain in Rajasthan, Bhungra in Banswara district received the highest rainfall of 180 millimeter in the last 24 hours. Moderate rain was reported in Bundi, Udaipur, Chittorgarh, Tonk and Kota districts. The state capital Jaipur has witnessed rains since Tuesday morning with waterlogging in many parts. According to the Met Department, heavy to very heavy rains is likely to in many places till Wednesday. Now let's look at some stories that are making the news across the nation. Vice President Jagdeep along with his wife called on President Draupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan. During this meeting, many important issues were discussed between the two leaders. The Prime Minister has wished Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on his birthday. He also wished him good health and long life. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla met with the Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar at his residence today. They both held a discussion on many important issues. Union Minister PIYUSH Goyal met Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla in Parliament House today. During this, various issues were discussed between the two leaders. Two Kashmiri Pandit brothers who were attacked by terrorists in Shopian district of Jammu and Kashmir. One brother was killed and the other was injured during the attack. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath paid tribute to Bharat Ratna and former Prime Minister ATAL BIHARI VAJPAYEE on his death anniversary at Lok Bhavan. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami participated in the Dettol School Cleanliness Education Program in Dehradun. He said that this would bring a big change in the behavior of children towards cleanliness. Chhattisgarh government announced a 6% hike in dearness allowance for state government employees. This will benefit about 3.80 lakh government employees in the state. The Ramban district administration in Jammu and Kashmir has banned the operation of 7 news portals for spreading fake news and tarnishing the image of the government. And now news from the world of business and economy. The wholesale price-based inflation dropped to a 5-month low of 13.93% in July on easing prices of food articles and manufactured products. The WPI inflation continued its decline trend with inflation in food articles in July falling to 10.77% from 14.39% in June. The rate of price rise in vegetable also declined substantially to 18.25% in July as against 56.75% in June. However, consumer of Amul milk will now have to shell out extra as prices of Amul Gold, Taza and Shakti milk went up by ₹2 per litre. An increase in overall cost of operation and production of milk led to the hike. The new rates will be applicable throughout Gujarat, Delhi, NCR, Mumbai West, Bengal and other markets where Amul milk is supplied. As neighboring Pakistan is battling growing economic challenges with high inflation, sliding forex reserves, a widening current account deficit and depreciating currency, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif underscored the need to accord priority to health, education and infrastructure development in the country. He said Pakistan's financial crisis was getting worse with exports of only 10% of the output and inflow of FDI less than 1% of GDP. Energy, banking and auto stocks spearheaded the market boom with BSE Sensex logging 379 points while NSE Nifty added 127 points. Mahindra & Mahindra's announcement of the launch of 5 new SUVs by 2026 saw its stocks bounce by 2.28%. Maruti and Asian Paints also gained nearly 2%. It was a mixed day for global markets as Hong Kong, Nikkei 225 and Nasdaq all declined by 1%. In contrast, markets across Europe, Taiwan, Korea and Shanghai gained 1%. We slip into a short break here. On the other side, Putin pledges to expand military cooperation with allies for a multipolar world.
India became free 75 years ago. We all know we have fundamental rights. Do you also know that we have fundamental duties? The duty towards our nation, to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and the national anthem.
Welcome back. Time now for all the big developments from the Russia-Ukraine war front. Russia has said that it would do everything necessary to allow specialists from the International Atomic Energy Agency to visit the Zaporizhzhia plant. However, it has warned that a mission through Kiev would be too dangerous. United Nations spokesman Stefan Dujarric said the UN could provide logistics and security support if Russia and Ukraine agree. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also spoke with Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu about conditions for safe operations at Zaporizhzhia. The ship Brave Commander has left the Ukrainian port of Pivdenie carrying the first cargo of humanitarian food aid bound for Africa from Ukraine since Russia's invasion. Carrying 23,000 tons of wheat, the ship has left for Djibouti with supplies for consumers in Ethiopia. Ukraine has called for new sanctions on Russia and highlighted the risks and consequences of a catastrophe at Europe's biggest nuclear plant. Ukrainian President Zelensky warned Russian soldiers that if they attack the site in the now Russian-controlled city of Enerhodar or use it as a base, they would become a special target. Fresh shelling was reported near the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant on Monday, with both sides blaming each other once again. Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu has said Russia does not need to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. Speaking at the Moscow International Security Conference, Shoigu alleged that Ukrainian military operations are being planned by the United States and the United Kingdom. He added that the weapons supplied to Ukraine by the West get crushed on the battlefields, and the special military operation has debunked the myth of super weapons. Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Western countries want NATO-like a system in the Asia-Pacific. Delivering the welcome address at the Moscow International Security Conference, Putin said that the United States was trying to drag out the conflict in Ukraine to maintain its global hegemony. At least 2 people have been injured in a blast at an ammunition depot in Myskoye village in Crimea. This is the second incident in a week to rock the Russian-controlled peninsula. Around 2,000 residents in the area were evacuated and train services from Russia into Crimea were suspended. Russian officials said a fire triggered the blast, but later called it sabotage. Time now for some other global updates. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday pledged to expand military cooperation with the country's allies, noting that Moscow is ready to offer them its most advanced weapons. Putin said Russia's arms exports play an important role in the development of a multipolar world, the term that the Kremlin uses to describe its efforts to offset what it perceives as US global domination.
Russian President Vladimir Putin opened an annual military forum, Army 2022, on Monday, claiming that many samples of Russian high-precision weapons were significantly ahead of Western models. The forum, traditionally held on the outskirts of Moscow, demonstrates Russia's newest inventions in the military sphere, its most innovative military equipment and vehicles.
Особый интерес представляют перспективные образцы и системы, которые ориентированы на будущее и будут определять завтрашний день вооруженных сил. Речь идет о высокоточном оружии и робототехнике, о боевых комплексах, основанных на новых физических принципах.
Putin thanked the companies supplying the Russian army with weapons and said that they work for the victory. This year's Army 2022 forum showcased more than 28,000 modern samples of military and dual-use products, as well as 1,500 domestic defense industry organizations, Putin said. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
China resorted to more high-intensity military drills around Taiwan on Monday to safeguard national sovereignty. The latest developments follow a round of meetings that Taiwan's president had with the members of a new US congressional delegation visiting the self-ruled island. Beijing once again asserted that these meetings are provocations that challenge its one China policy.
China announced more military drills around Taiwan as the self-governing island's president met with the members of a new US congressional delegation on Monday. The latest developments threatened to renew tensions between the Beijing and Washington just days after a similar visit by US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi angered China. Pelosi was the highest-level member of US government to visit Taiwan in 25 years, and her trip prompted nearly 2 weeks of threatening military exercises by China that claimed the island as its own. Beijing fired missiles over the island and into the Taiwan Strait and sent warplanes and navy ships across the waterways mid-line, which has long been a buffer zone between the sides that split amid civil war in 1949. The new exercises were intended to be resolute response and solemn deterrent against collusion and provocation between the United States and Taiwan, the Defense Ministry said earlier. It was not clear if the new drills had already started since the ministry gave no details about where and when they would be conducted, in contrast to previous rounds. This week's 5-member congressional delegation planned to meet with both government and private sector representatives. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
China's ship Yuan Wong 5 on Tuesday berthed at Sri Lanka's southern port of Hambantota amid concerns expressed by India and the US. China said the activities of its high-tech research vessel will not affect the security of any country and one should not be obstructed by any third party.
A Chinese scientific research ship whose port call was earlier deferred due to apparent security concerns raised by India arrived on Tuesday at a southern port in Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan port officials and Chinese officials welcomed Yuan Wong 5 at the Hambantota port. The ship was originally set to arrive on August 11th, but Sri Lanka's foreign ministry asked to postpone the docking until further consultations took place. The ministry said last weekend that the ship was given permission to dock in Hambantota until August 22nd. It said the two sides had agreed the ship would keep its identification systems on and would not carry out any research activities while in Sri Lanka waters. Sri Lanka said it was postponing the ship's arrival because of concerns raised with the ministry, but did not identify who had raised them. India has expressed security concerns over the ship's proximity to its southern borders. On Monday, India also gifted a maritime reconnaissance aircraft to Sri Lanka to strengthen its maritime security. The Indian embassy said Sri Lanka's Navy and Air Force personnel who were trained in India will operate the aircraft with operational support from Indian personnel. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Now let us take a look at some more stories from around the world. Iran has submitted a written response to what has been described as a final roadmap to restore its tattered nuclear deal with world powers. EU spokesperson of Foreign Affairs has confirmed receiving the written response from Tehran. Iran's foreign ministry has said they are hopeful for the deal if their demands are met. Meanwhile, State Department spokesman Ned Price has said that Iran must abandon its extraneous demands if the deal has to happen. United Nations urged the release of frozen Afghan assets to mitigate humanitarian crisis and facilitate recovery and reconstruction in the war-torn Afghanistan. Speaking via video link, UN Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator for Afghanistan said 19 million Afghans are facing food crisis in the country and the economic depression has plunged more people into poverty. United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet visited a Rohingya refugee camp as a part of her 4-day visit to Bangladesh. Bachelet is the first UNHRC chief to make an official trip to the country. She visited the Cox's Bazar and food market for Rohingya refugees who had fled Myanmar. The US military carried out a test of a Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile. The test was delayed to avoid escalating tensions with Beijing. The US military in a statement said that the test showed the readiness of US nuclear forces and provides confidence in the effectiveness of the nation's nuclear deterrence. The nuclear-capable Minuteman III has a range of over 9,600 kilometers and can travel at a speed of approximately 24,000 kilometers per hour. Indonesia is all set to celebrate its Independence Day on 17th of August. President Joko Widodo addressed the nation on the eve of Indonesia's independence. He called on all citizens to remain united, vigilant and alert in the face of a crisis caused by the war in Ukraine and coronavirus pandemic. That's all in this bulletin. Good night.